How do you react then to Trump's latest announcement of bringing in Scott Pruitt as the head of EPA? Clearly, it's almost hard to believe that here's somebody who represents the fossil fuel industry. You're making him the head of the EPA. So clearly, he wants to discontinue with the EPA or reduce its powers.
He won't get away with it, and you know why? Because we're wrecking the climate, and everybody's feeling it. In India, you had in Rajasthan 51 degrees Celsius this year, the hottest ever recorded in this country, devastating, killing people. And in the United States, we have massive floods, we have massive storms, we have heat waves. We've had the hottest year in the world record in 2016. So even Trump comes along and says, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to build up coal.
But how can he bring in somebody like him to head the EPA? He could have appointed him on some other position. Why? How come EPA? It's just...
Yeah, because politics is a game among these greedy, super rich, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Were you shocked, or were you not surprised?
I must say, I was, even though I've been writing books and articles about how big money has taken over, what's happening right now is so crude that it shocks me. Even though I wrote a book about this called The Price of Civilization a few years ago, I've written articles, I've got a new book coming out next month talking about... Despite all of that,
you're surprised.
3 senior positions going to Goldman Sachs, possibly the Secretary of State going to ExxonMobil. I find that unbelievable. Having a worst foe of the EPA put into the EPA position, having generals all over the place. We're not supposed to have generals running the Defense Department, by the way. We're supposed to have civilian control of the Army.
Right. Absolutely. Let's talk about India's, how do you see India tackling the issue of climate change? How do you assess India's performance so far? Because on one area you've criticized us is because of our target of doubling coal production. But the Indian government says that, we don't have a choice. I mean, while they are making a lot of efforts as far as increasing their renewable footprint is concerned, both solar and wind, they also have to rely on coal in the absence of the developed world actually wanting or willing to finance, less developed countries like ours to actually migrate to cleaner technologies.
Yeah, I love India, and I come as many times a year as I can, and I admire the rapid progress this country's making. But this doubling of coal is a huge, huge mistake. And you just have to be in Delhi, as I've been this week. The air, you can't see the blue sky. There's so much pollution. It's really killing people, by the way, because this air is so bad. It's not just unpleasant, it's really dangerous. It's changing the climate. And India does have alternatives. I was in Nepal this past week. There's so much hydropower. Instead of building coal-fired power plants, get Nepal's hydropower. There are 40 gigawatts of hydropower waiting in Nepal right now to help bring down to India, to Bangladesh. There's more hydroelectric power in Bhutan. There's massive wind and solar potential. Let's get on with it and build some nuclear plants too. That's perfectly appropriate.
But how do you assess India's performance in general over the last 5 years?
India's economic performance, I'm happy to see the economic growth. I want that. I want to see India be the fastest growing big economy in the world. It absolutely should be. But not on the basis of polluting the air and destroying the environment. That's all. Just do it in a sustainable way.
Again, coming back to my original point of where global consensus is breaking down, will developed countries be willing to bear the financial costs of helping lesser developed or lesser economically prosperous countries to migrate to cleaner technologies?
We hosted your Minister of Environment at Columbia University earlier this year. He said, we need more financing from the rich countries to help. I said, call me. I will help campaign for India every day to get money to get this clean environment. I want India to put forward specific plans to the international community to say, you caused this climate disaster. You're mostly responsible for it.
And
you're
Jeffrey
rich.
Sachs will support India in its endeavor.
I'm absolutely going to support you every day as loud as I can because it's right. But if India doesn't have a plan and says, well, we can't do it, no one's going to pay, so we're going to double coal, this is a big mistake.
But they have a plan.
No, I want India to have a plan for international financing, to say, here's what you should pay, here's where it's going,
Come back
here's what's due.
on the table with a, with a blueprint.
Look, India is one of the most important countries in the world. So India should not just have rhetoric. India should say, this is what should be done. Put the plan on the table. I'll support it, I promise.
In conclusion, Professor Sachs, since you're a macroeconomist as well, the government is actually in the midst of this a political experiment which has perhaps never been done on such a giant scale before. Sort of overnight, we made many high-value currency notes illegal. Your thoughts, because we've heard Rogov saying that there are other ways of doing it. I'm curious what Professor Sachs thinks.
When India does something, it's always on the biggest scale ever done.
The numbers.
Like Aadhaar, like unique identification, now demonetization. It's amazing, I have to say. So macroeconomists like me are going to be studying this for years. My one main point, I think the government knows it, this will work if you do everything possible to get people to be on online payments, ASAP everywhere. So make a full effort in this country to get payments online. I see that vendors selling fruit on a stand are now taking Paytm. In other words,
you can be favorably disposed towards, at least fundamentally.
The principle of this is right. And if you actually, India could go all the way to lead the world in cashless economy, because India is really good at IT. But this was done so fast and really without preparation in the rest of the system that the government now has to do everything possible to help everybody to get on e-payments. If you do that, then it's not just a one-off thing, it's a real breakthrough to a new economy that's formal, more honest, paying taxes, much more efficient. I'd love to see India be the first major economy in the world. Sweden's basically going to cashless, but India is a scale. And to do it as a much poorer country. India could do it because it has the brains to do it. It has the IT expertise, but move it quickly, because you started, with this surprise announcement, really a shock. Now everyone's got to scramble, so do everything possible to get e-payments going.
Professor Sachs, thank you very, very much. Pleasure to have you speak with us.
Likewise.
Thank you so much.
Good, thanks a lot.